people. I have Michelle with me today. I'm so glad we get to hear her journey both with losing weight with hCG in phase 2 and with her recent journey with maintaining that weight loss in phase 3 and beyond. I think it's been at least a couple months now since she's been off. And what's neat about her is that she's going to show us a really neat perspective on having really good success this time with previous times where it wasn't as successful. So we get to hear her thoughts on comparing how she was able to make that change, because that's what a lot of us struggle with, is not so much always the weight loss part, it's the after part. So anyway, welcome, Michelle.
Hi, thank you. I'm so psyched to be here.
Yes, and I'm so glad you have a little dash of red on your shirt, because we color coordinate here.
So, we do. Yeah.
I know, and we totally planned that. No? Well, why don't we just jump right into it? Why don't you give us your basics as far as like your age, your height, any medical conditions you have or have had?
Okay, I'm 53. I'm 5 feet tall. I have a few different autoimmune conditions. I have celiac. I've been gluten-free now for about 6 years. And I have had fibromyalgia for about 10 years. And Hashimoto, so I have thyroid issues as well.
Gotcha. So you really do have quite a few things that you've had to deal with.
Yes, and I have cured it all with nutrition.
That is awesome, and we'll definitely be asking you for more stuff about that later. So, and for those of you who don't know, I think a lot of you guys know what celiac is. I mean, she's allergic to gluten. So some
Yeah.
of you guys, most of you guys probably know that. Hashimoto's, for any of you who don't know, it's an autoimmune condition involving your thyroid, which I have Hashimoto's as well. You probably know that already. But yeah, and that's where your body literally attacks your thyroid and gradually destroys it. So, but as we will talk about, there are totally ways to slow down or stop that process so that you can have the best health, possible. So tell us then, just kind of in a nutshell, what have been your overall results with your hCG weight loss journey?
So I've done hCG 5 or 6 rounds, losing a total of about 50 pounds, I think. I've done it off and on for about 5 years, I think. This round was completely different than any other round I've done, the most recent one. But I went from a size 14 to a size 4. I'm now 122 pounds, and which is basically what I weighed when I graduated from high school.
Wow, that's amazing. And then how tall are you again?
I'm 5 feet.
5 feet. So you're a little shorty like me.
Yeah.
So, and about like, so what was like your highest starting weight, like when you maybe first started hCG?
I was about, I would say, low 170s.
Gotcha. So, and then down to like 122. So yeah, about 50 pounds then.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal. Yeah, and when you're shorter, it's like the 170, 180 number becomes a lot on our small frames, because we don't have those extra inches to spread out some of the weight. So
Absolutely.
yeah, well that's really cool to hear. So tell us then about your latest round then. How long did you do it? What was your weight loss for just this most recent one?
I lost 23 pounds. I did it in 40 days. I do injections.
Great.
And yeah, and it was much easier for some reason. One thing that's different than in previous rounds is I'm in the midst of menopause. I haven't had my period in about 9 months.
Okay, gotcha. And
So
it's cool.
I don't know if that has an effect or not, but
Yeah, well, what's encouraging about hearing that? You probably told us your age earlier. You said you're 53, almost 54.
yeah.
What's encouraging about that is that I actually do get that question a lot by email, like I'm in menopause or perimenopause, or like I'm this, I'm 50 to 70, and like, will hCG work for me then, or will it not work as well? And so, it almost seems like you're having a life change in more than one way, but even physically, your body responded really well to the protocol.
That yes, exactly. And I don't know, maybe, and I also probably was in a different headspace this time
Right.
around. It was like I want to just do this and be done with it.
Right. Yeah, you kind of get to a point where you're sick of the up and the down, which we'll talk about. But yeah, so for you guys out there who are, I often notice actually that it is mature women who do so well on the protocol because of that very fact that they're mature and they're like ready to like make a more permanent change and exercise the self-control that's necessary because it is it's not really very easy. Yeah, so I just think that that's pretty interesting. And also I wanted to bring out too that with your 23 pounds in 40 days and at your lower weight, because if you're around 122, that means you probably started around 140 something.
Yeah.
um, those are good results. I want to make sure you get, because I get a lot of emails about this too. So we read a lot of things online where people are like, you can lose a pound a day or you should lose 40 pounds in 40 days. I hear this all the time. And that's actually really almost never going to happen unless you have a lot of weight to lose. So if you're 100 pounds overweight, yes, that may happen because your metabolic rate is higher. When you become smaller, it's just a fact of life, of science, that you have a lower metabolic rate. And it's not because you're unhealthy, it's just because you're a small person, and that's what's normal for your smaller size, you know? And when you actually look at like the science of how many calories a day a woman burns, plus you're eating 500 a day, pretty much a third to a half pound of weight loss per day is average. That's going to be like totally good, normal results. So, which is exactly what you had, So,
It is. I was very fortunate this round too. I hit up plateaus twice. They lasted no more than 2 days, and I basically just kept doing what I was doing because it was working.
good. Yeah, that's so smart. And just let it just it'll continue. So now how long has it been then since your last round?
It's been 8 weeks.
Cool. So about 2 months then. Yeah, which is great because that is definitely enough time where if you were having trouble, it would have shown up by now.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more later about how you're doing that. Why don't we go with like into your history a little bit because people are always curious about that. Like, did you always deal with weight issues or was that later in life? What's kind of your history with how that's been for you?
So a couple of things come to mind. One is that yes, I've always struggled with my weight. My maiden name is Rounds, and I used to be Round. So I got teased some as a child, and I never really I never had an eating disorder, but I tried every diet on the planet, over the years. And, I go to college and gain the 15, freshman 15 and
Yeah,
don't lose it all before I get pregnant and, all of those sorts of things. But I've
right,
done Weight Watchers, I've done Overeaters Anonymous, I've done all kinds of different, fat diets and Atkins and South Beach and, a
right.
bazillion different things.
Yeah, gotcha. So, and that's really the kind of the story for a lot of women. It's just been like a constant struggle their whole life. You also mentioned too that with your mom had a health condition and that kind of affected your outlook for you. You want to share that story?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. My mom was diagnosed with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and became bedridden at 48.
Gosh.
And she was literally bedridden for 15 years before she passed away.
Wow.
And so when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, I thought I saw myself going down that same road, and I didn't want that to happen. And so I ended up finding a naturopath who was able to help me deal with the fibromyalgia, diagnose the Hashimoto's, and we did all of that before I even thought about hCG. We dealt with the health issues and got my medication and my supplements where they should be, and then he was the one who prescribed the hCG to me.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I love that you share all that because um, you talked about you saw a naturopath. He kind of did you so he obviously probably did some blood testing then to discover the Hashimoto's
Yep.
and things like that. And it's really worth you guys like checking into those things because um, I think HCG is like a component, right, of overall health, but it's not like the only thing. It's not gonna. Sometimes we tend to think like, oh, it's a hormone, it's gonna fix everything that's wrong. But I haven't seen that to be true. It's not gonna fix everything.
No, and I was actually worked with him for a good, 8 or 9 months before I even thought about starting the hCG, because there
Yeah.
were other things going on. I had some mineral deficiencies and things like that he had tested for, and I was able to work on that.
Yeah.
Over time, as I lost weight, I was able to give up my antidepressants. I was able to get off my blood pressure medication.
Wow.
It was really incredible.
That is amazing. And how did your health improve even before starting hCG? I mean, it sounds like you said, it sounds like you gave up gluten even before
Yeah.
hCG,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. 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 That was a life changer for me. And I know that it's not for everybody, but when I hear my friends and family and whatever talking about symptoms that were similar to what I had,
Yeah.
I'm like, try it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Go
like
get
as
it.
an experiment, right? You don't just because you
Yes.
try something doesn't mean you have to do it forever.
Well, and like I was saying to a coworker today, everyone has a different tolerance. I cannot have any. It will make me sick.
Yeah.
But and other people, they can have a little bit and it doesn't bother them.
Right. Yeah, I know that's such a good point. And I want to so it sounds so you did all of these things before starting hCG, so you were
Yes.
already having some improved health even while
Yes.
you were overweight pre-hCG, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Because you said a lot of these symptoms with your fibromyalgia and you said your migraines went away.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. And that was totally related to the wheat.
Really?
Um, Inflammation, just general inflammation.
Gotcha. No, you said no fibromyalgia flare in 5 years.
Nope.
Interesting.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah,
It's pretty incredible.
that is great. Um, yeah, because I wanted to just share my own little thing too. This was also for me before hCG. I also found out that I had Hashimoto's, and so I also. So do you still take a little bit of thyroid medication now? Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So usually we need it. So
Yeah.
when you have Hashis, at least some of your thyroid's usually been destroyed. So,
Yeah.
so usually you have a hypothyroid condition, at least to some extent,
Yes.
and so I'm the same. One interesting thing I used to have was whether it was fibromyalgia type symptoms or not, I don't know, because so many of these like conditions are just they're just labels, right, for symptoms,
Right.
and there's so much crossover. So for a time I would have a lot of joint pain, and especially the bottoms of my feet.
Mm.
It felt like kind of like I had no padding. It felt like I was standing on the bones of my feet. Like it hurt so bad. And if I was like cooking, for instance, after like 20 minutes on our linoleum floor, it would just hurt so bad. I would have to just like go lay down or sit down and just have my feet up. And it really hurt bad. And then the funny thing is once I started my thyroid medication, this was years ago
Yep.
now, it completely went away. I've never had that symptom, not even once since. And I've had other things here and there, and things fluctuate, but that's one thing that it was just gone forever after that. It was crazy.
And this right before I started this round of hCG, which was in March, I got going through the Christmas holidays. I'm was fairly good at stabilizing my weight most of the year, and then of course the holidays come,
Yeah.
and then you start sneaking a little bit of sugar. Even without the gluten, you're still getting more and more
Right.
sugar.
Sure.
And so by the time the holidays were over, I had horrible like arthritis symptoms. And
Really.
my carpal tunnel was acting up. I was wearing my brace all the time. It was
Wow.
so frustrating. And within 2 weeks of doing this round of hCG, I had detoxed the sugar from my body and the inflammation went away and no more pain.
Oh my gosh, you guys, that's so striking because I mean the quality of life that you experience,
Yep.
right, is so drastically different
Yes.
when you're
Yeah.
not in pain.
And it makes you never want to go back. And if all you have to do is not eat wheat or not eat sugar,
Right.
then it's totally worth it for me.
Yes, yeah. And maybe we'll talk about that more too when we get to like more maintenance part because um if you're in a place you guys where you are eating wheat or sugar, because I remember feeling this way. Like I felt like so attached to it that it felt like for someone to say like, well, if that's all you have to do, and you're like, what do you mean that's all?
Yes.
Like it's hard. Like and I remember feeling that way. But the thing is, you have to realize that the desires of your body actually do change, once you
Yes.
detox. So
Yeah.
you don't actually feel attached like that anymore. That you have to kind of trust that that's going to happen, And then the other thing is you actually do find replacements, and which we'll talk about what you have for sweets and stuff or for satisfying things. And it's not about replacing like cake with celery. I mean, it's like I have found other things to have that aren't sugar that are still satisfying though and feels like a treat. And so as long as you're not just getting rid of a bad habit, you're replacing it with something that feels satisfying, and those two things are kind of what make that transition doable. It's not going to like always feel, you're not going to feel that attached forever.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, yeah. Oh, well, those are really good thoughts. Yeah, and the gluten thing too, because I'm also gluten free. I don't think I'm actually celiac. Like I don't think I would register on the testing, although actually I haven't had it done, but I cannot have any gluten either. And this is just a funny thing. I don't know if you have any experience with this, but I had tried some hair products recently that are made for curly hair, and they have really good reviews online, like best products for curly hair. And my hair has changed in recent years, and it's kind of like if I do the right product, it actually gets kind of curly now. So I was like, oh, trying to make it like all nice and love this product, and I was getting really tired, like I was feeling really kind of crummy more than usual. And I looked at the ingredients, and it did have wheat in the products.
Oh,
And I
wow.
and I thought, oh, there's no way that could be affecting me. Like I'm not eating it. Like that's just I don't think that's possible. But I had pronounced fatigue. And so
Mm.
I tried another thing. I put gloves on. And I like tried to like not get it on like my scalp, and I tried to like just put it on my hair without touching it, but it's hard.
Hmm.
And I still didn't feel good, and I finally got rid of it, and then my energy returned. And so it's weird how even those types of things.
Well, I also find the longer that I am gluten free, I also am noticing sensitivities to other things. And that's a little bit frustrating.
Okay. Like what? I'm curious. Do you mind?
Like dairy, like
Gotcha.
dairy. I can't do milk, can't do ice cream. I can do a little bit of hard cheese and I'm okay.
Gotcha.
But like, especially after this last round of hCG, because I was very methodical about how I introduced foods back in.
Right.
So I did like a cauliflower crust pizza, and that was a no, 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 no.
Oh man. Because of all the cheese, you mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly. The other thing, I've always been sensitive to MSG, and now another preservative called silica dioxide.
Oh, they use that like as an anti-caking agent, right? Or something?
Exactly,
Gotcha.
exactly. And they preserve, like dried fruit sometimes is preserved in it in order to maintain the color and things like that.
Gotcha.
No, 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 bad. Instant migraine.
Migraines, I see. And then what happens to you when you have the dairy?
Yeah, when I eat dairy, um, or I accidentally get gluten, I feel like I've swallowed a rock.
Wow.
I I get a headache, I have diarrhea, the
Wow.
whole nine yards.
Interesting. That's crazy. Yeah, I know it's weird. And sometimes the things can change over time. I was totally dairy free for about a year and a half or 2 years
Mm.
during my last period of, it's been almost 5 years of maintenance now. And but then I got tired of it. I was like, let me just but I'm actually like you. I can have hard cheeses. The softer
Yeah.
they get, the less comfortable it feels, and I cannot have any milk whatsoever. Although I can have just a teeny bit of half and half. I have in my black tea every morning, which technically is half milk, but it's just like a tablespoon, so it's really tiny. But yeah, I could not drink milk, and then soft cheeses, forget it. But hard cheeses, I get away with it.
Well,
So
I used to drink a half and half of my coffee every day.
yeah,
And I only drank like 1 cup a day. But
yeah.
when I did this round of hCG, I went black and I just have
Oh,
never put cream back in my coffee again. I'm like, well, if I can drink it without it, then I
yeah.
won't bother.
Yeah, I mean, the less stuff causing inflammation, the better.
That's
So
right.
I know it's crazy. Well, that's very interesting. So now you mentioned that you did injections
I did.
for your rounds. I always like to ask about dosage for people since that's a big thing. What dose worked well for you?
I started the first couple weeks. I was actually at what is it, 0.125.
So 125 IU. Okay. Yeah.
And then I went up to 150 for
Okay.
the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then and then I started slowing down. So I actually went up one more time.
Gotcha.
Took,
And then you felt fine hunger-wise on all those.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. And in the past, I had gone up quicker, I think, because I was hungrier,
Okay.
and I didn't need it, so I didn't do it.
That's good. That's good. And for any of you guys who want to kind of get more help on finding because dose is directly related to like the level of hunger you do or don't feel. So you can go to hcgchica.com/dosage. We'll have it in the show notes too as a link. But there's tons of experiences of there for ladies on different dosages because whether you need to go up or down, it really depends on the situation. So,
Yeah.
like a lot of times as you get leaner, you need to reduce the dosage, but then also you have to keep in mind that hCG gradually loses potency. So sometimes you actually need to increase it because the
Right.
potency is going down. So you have to, if you increase it, that compensates, So it's just very individual. And then when it came to how you actually carried out phase 2, like as far as what like protocol or diet plan you followed, what did you do?
I followed the diet to the letter.
Yeah.
Some days, the only thing that I absolutely had to have every day was the protein.
Gotcha.
And I can't remember if eggs are official or not official, but I did eat eggs. But other than that, I just had the very lean protein. I ate canned tuna fish. I ate, lots of chicken,
Yeah.
and occasionally a little piece of beef or some 90% hamburger, all weighed and everything.
Right.
Because I'm gluten free, I didn't the I did the what's it called, Blue Diamond crackers.
Okay. Like gluten-free crackers.
Yeah, the almond crackers.
Oh,
So,
almond crackers. Okay.
yep,
Oh,
yep.
interesting. Cool.
I think they're Blue Diamond, like the nuts. They're
Okay.
really good.
Oh, wow.
And
That's neat. So you had like what, two of those a day or something, or
for
a
those,
few?
yeah,
Okay.
yep. And lots of little tiny apples. But I really tuned into my hunger. So when I was no longer hungry, I stopped, and I've continued that habit. Um, so it felt kind of weird, like even on 500 calories, not eating everything that I could.
Yeah.
But if I didn't want it, I didn't eat it.
Awesome. That's great. And it's great to practice that during that time because that's basically the way to maintain long term.
Yeah,
So, because the counting calorie thing, it's like you can do that, but like as you mentioned, you hate it and I hate it. I've done it, but I don't usually do it. And yeah, it's really actually not necessary in the long run if you're using the hunger as the guide because your body will tell you, you know. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And there are days, of course, where you're stressed out or whatever, even during P2, on those days, I would tend to spread the food out, and so that if I needed something, crunchy as a snack because I was stressed in the moment, I could do
You
that.
could because you had saved.
Yeah.
I have 3 slices of apple left.
Hey, whatever works.
For my stressful moment. No, I love that. That's good. And I like that you talk about how there were many days you didn't eat all the food. So you followed the 500 calorie diet, it sounds like basically with Dr.
Yes.
Simeon's.
Yes.
And I get that question a lot too. Like, do you have to eat all 500 calories? This is often on forums too. Like, you have to eat all 500 calories or you won't stabilize or something like that. And actually, it's not true, as she brings out. And I actually do have a whole post on this too. So I'll have that in the show notes for you guys. I discussed you have to eat all 500 calories and basically, yeah, you don't. But there's some things to think about when you choose whether or not to. And really, hunger is a big part of that. You wouldn't want to like purposefully eat less even though you were hungry. And like what you mentioned, eating the proteins, just making sure you eat the proteins. Because otherwise you're going to really risk muscle loss, like excessive muscle loss. So yeah, you did it the smart way that way. And also, I like how you talked about that this time you spent a little more time with the whole like preparation cooking aspect with even your P2 meals. Like, do you want to share a few of the types of dishes that you made and why?
I think that made a huge difference for me. I'm one of the, I'm busy during the week. My kids are grown, but I'm still busy. I work full time and all of that. So Sundays are my cooking days. So I would make a couple of meals to have on hand. I like the P2 chili a lot. There's a recipe. It was called dirty rice. I think it's cabbage and
Yeah.
and and I put lots of spice in that. Like a soup with little turkey meatballs and things like that. So I would have a couple of like prepared meals, and then I would fill it in between with, a piece of chicken and,
Yeah.
have a can of tuna or whatever it was.
Right.
So that variety was the key for me,
That's good.
and things that were flavorful, because that's the other thing that changes during P2 is you recalculate your taste buds and what tastes good to you.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that out because like you said, plain chicken breast gets old, and so it does. And honestly, long term too. We'll talk about that in P3, like really this principle of like you said things with spices and a little kick to them really helped you not get sick of the diet, having flavorful foods, and that's really true. Like you can do a mix. It's like if you just only do completely plain stuff and never like it's gonna get old. But it's not that you won't ever do that. You don't have to make every meal like this really complex thing either. But like having, like you did, having some nice meals and then filling in. Because I do the same thing even in my daily life too. I have an Instant Pot. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but
Yep.
you can find it on my Amazon. Yeah, and I always cook up like 4 chicken breasts in my Instant Pot because it only takes like 10 minutes, and keep that in the fridge cold just so that I always have, and then as soon as I have like one left, I pop 4 more in just so that I always have something for, yeah, those busy times when you just need to grab and it's not fun, it's just chicken and salt. But then also, having real dishes as well that are actually satisfying to eat. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing that I appreciate is that I don't worry about salt.
Cool. Yeah, I don't either.
So I mean, that is something that, if you've got high blood pressure or whatever, that you're supposed to watch. And when I'm doing HCG, I don't worry about it. I just,
Yeah, well, because you're eating so little. I mean, there's really no way you'd have like you'd be consuming too much sodium.
mustard was my friend.
Nice. Yeah, it's
Lots
so good.
Lots of mustard. And you've got to be careful. You can't do like the honey mustard during
Yes.
P2 and that sort of thing. But there are other ones out there that with chipotle sauce, sauce in
It's
it or
true.
whatever, like different kinds of mustard. So I ate a
Yeah.
lot of mustard.
That's awesome. I love that. And you also mentioned dill pickles wrapped in roast beef. That's fun.
Yeah, why
Yeah,
not?
that sounds really good too. Yeah, so you just made it more workable for you. I was curious, do you think we could later, after, get the links to like those few recipes you mentioned, like the
Oh,
chili and the dirty rice and the soup?
yeah,
And then
absolutely.
we'll post it in the show notes for you guys, the links if you want to make, because those are P2 recipes. So I bet that would be really satisfying.
Hmm.
Make a larger batch to last for a few days maybe. So now you mentioned that when you would get a little anxious or bored, what were a few things that you would do outside of eating to kind of try to get past that?
Um, well, I sometimes I get bored at work, so I get up and walk around. Do a lap around the building.
Nice, yeah.
I love herb tea, and it was cooler out, so I drank a lot of herb tea
Cool.
and just sort of kept that going all day long because I like water, but I also like the mixture. I also did, hot lemon water with stevia in it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
that was
good.
also very satisfying.
You're right, it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes we
you know,
forget even about those little things like that has probably almost no calories, but it is quite satisfying.
yeah. I mean, people would pick on me. What are you drinking? Hot lemonade with stevia?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
It's
It's all that
okay.
matters.
And I also, and I know this isn't technically protocol, but I also did sugar-free gum on occasion. Not a
Yeah,
ton, but once in a
yeah.
while.
I call those sanity savers. It's
Yeah.
like that or a cake. which one's better on P2? Like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna go with the gum.
Not and that is just giving your jaw something to do, and it must trigger something in your brain,
Yeah.
and gives you a flavor in your mouth.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. So there's some things that helped you out there. Um, Now, as far as, and we'll talk more. So you guys, Michelle, we actually connected initially because she bought my P3 to Life program, which is a structured program for phase 3. You can learn about it at p3tolife.com. So it's all actually on a different website, not HCG Chica. But so that's how I initially connected with her. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes here. But so just as far as like being kind of in maintenance mode now, phase 4 and all that, what's kind of your outlook? Like, what you mentioned here just about that you've always been an ish person and just kind of how things have changed for you. Do you want to share that?
Um, it was funny. I was going to a family barbecue yesterday, and the host was asking me, texting me all these questions about, well, can you eat this? Can you eat this? Can you eat this? And I'm like, please, there is no need for you to modify your recipes for
Yeah.
me. I will find something I can eat anywhere I go. And so I just don't really worry about it. First of all, whenever I go to something like that, I bring something that I can eat.
Yeah, right.
And and she's like, "Well, if I use gluten-free Oreos, can you eat this peanut butter pie?" And I'm like, I can, but I'm not going to." Because I'm just not interested in going there at this moment in time. So,
Gotcha.
when I you know, um, I have not had sugar in 4 months, none, well, except for fruit.
Yeah, but yeah, no, like refined, like any refined sugar. Yeah.
Nope, nope. I'm experimenting with the different sugar alternatives. I mean, I've done stevia a lot in the past, and now I've tried the xylitol and the swerve,
Okay. Yeah.
and I'm just tried the swerve today, as a matter of fact.
Cool.
And so just figuring out which ones I like, which ones I don't,
Yeah.
what you can do with them, and that sort of thing. And I'm a
Right.
cook anyway, so it's just experimenting to see what works.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and I just glad that you mentioned that out because it sounds like you said you hate counting calories. You used to believe in everything in moderation. I'm just gonna read what you said.
Yeah.
I don't think that anymore. Since I already had the gluten-free thing under my belt, I've now expanded that mindset to other foods that are not good for me. And then you mentioned not eating the sugar.
Yep.
And I
Not,
thought, yeah, that was
not
good. Go ahead.
iffy. Nuts are still iffy. I'm still
Gotcha.
experimenting with those. And that's one of the things that I've done because I reintroduced the food so ridiculously slowly this time. I
Yeah.
was able to tell immediately what I was reacting to. So that
Right.
made it a little bit easier. And nuts, I'm still on the fence about that.
Right.
Um, I haven't done beans at all yet,
Yeah.
um, or potato. I did do sweet potato once, and that didn't even taste as good to me anymore as it used to. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting though, because I think that, like you said, your mindset's different. It's almost like sometimes when you make things a little more like on the outside, it seems more strict, but
Hmm.
it's actually you've created more freedom for yourself. You have more control over your results, you know, by doing that. Because I'm the same as you. I don't. Now, I guess on occasion I guess I have a little sugar. Like if I have dried cranberries on occasion, there's technically some added sugar on that, but that's pretty rare. So yeah, I'm almost completely sugar free still to this day. Um, yeah, and you just realize that there's certain things that make you feel more free actually once you've just completely removed them. Versus trying to eat them in moderation and then just always failing because you just always want more, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I'm actually on this feeling the same way about like the gluten-free stuff, like
Yeah.
wraps and
Right.
crackers and all, bagels and all of that.
Right.
You know, I'm just trying to go real light on those still.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's still so easy to overconsume those things. You know what I mean? Because it's still like the grain and the sugar combined, or the simple carbs or whatnot that gives you the
Right.
same blood sugar crashes and all, overeating and, yeah, I'm the same as you. There's just certain things I don't really eat, and you realize after all, you just like, oh, I don't need that actually, and the benefits that you're getting are just so much better and worth it that you
Hmm.
mentioned that as well, that it's not a big deal. Um, since you talked about going to a barbecue, you mentioned in here too that you do not indulge at parties, and you kind of, talked about that a little bit. So how do you keep a positive perspective on that decision?
Yeah,
And do you
it's
ever feel bad about it a little bit, or like have a rough time?
it's funny you should ask me that question for two reasons. One is because of the conversation with the family member about the barbecue, and the other was I'm sort of, someone at work saw the results that I had, and so she is actually doing P2 right now.
Okay.
And she was talking about how she's going out to these events, and they're all around the food and how do I do that and all that sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
you know I am finding that it's harder on other people than it is on me.
Mm.
So like people are always saying, "Are you sure? Can I adapt this? Can I do something different? What can I get for you? Is this okay?" Like for instance, that was they were the hamburger hot we had hot dogs and hamburgers, and the hamburgers were from Costco, the Kirkland, Costco brand.
Yeah.
And so I looked at the label just to make sure that there was no fillers in there, and the host of the party was like, "Oh my God, I never even thought of that, like there would be gluten in it."
Yeah, right.
she, she was nervous, and I'm like, "No, they're fine. I just have to know so that if there is, I don't eat it, and that's all there
Right.
is."
Yeah.
Sometimes I do get, um, I don't know how, feel a little left out, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
like we celebrate birthdays at work, and so someone always makes a cake, and we all get together and say happy birthday to the birthday person, and I'm the one person standing in the room with 10 other people with nothing.
Right.
Yeah. And you just sort of have to you know, have your own treat available. Like I keep, some little sugar-free chocolates in my desk drawer, whatever. And,
Yeah.
or just, be in the moment and celebrate the occasion, and
Yeah.
just sort of the food is not the event.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Does
and
that
I love that you're just honest too. Just that it's not always easy, even though it is your decision to do that. Like
Mhm.
there are going to be times, like you said, that you might feel self-conscious, or you might even feel a little sorry for yourself at times, or that it feels hard for one reason or another.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's going to happen, but that it's still, in the end, it still ends up being worth it, it sounds like, you know?
Well, because if I listen to my body, and I'm like, I feel terrific. I do not feel like I'm almost 54 years old. And I think I told you I celebrate my birthday every year since my mom passed away. I celebrate my birthday by climbing a mountain
That's awesome.
because I can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And
And
that's
so,
that's a big thing, you know?
yeah, yeah.
I was thinking that like pretty much no matter what choice you make, whether you decide to indulge at parties or to like take care of your body or give in and not do it, you're gonna feel uncomfortable and like unhappy at various moments in your life, whether it's from not indulging at a party and feeling left out, or indulging and gaining weight and then not ever having a way to like be in control of that. There's gonna be points where you feel that, so it's just really a matter of when do you want to feel that. You know what I mean? And like what's worth it.
And that's the way it sort of is with life in general, and any change or any new
Yeah.
experience, you just have to get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because it's not like, well, if I give in, then I'll feel happy. No, you're gonna feel unhappy later because
Yeah.
you didn't take care of your body now, or now you have to feel pain or achiness because you had sugar or whatever. So yeah, one way or another, it's just your choice on that. Yeah, and I think it's hard. I don't know, maybe more. I'm not sure if it's more a thing for women or not, but sometimes it's just really hard to put our health first. Like you said, other people actually are the ones that feel bad for you because they're like, I can't imagine not having a burger at a party. I feel so bad for you. You know, they might be thinking that, but you're more used to it now. So you're like, no, it's okay. I've had the same thing happen to me. They're like, no, I'm gonna make some sugar-free cookies for you for this thing at your house. I'm like, no, it's really fine. I never eat dessert at gatherings. I'm fine. Like, no, I'll go get some, erythritol and I'll make you some. And I'm like, if you want, but it's really fine.
Yeah, and I'm also still not eating, a ton of calories. So that's the other piece of it in my mind is I'm not
Gotcha.
eating a ton of food. So,
Yeah,
and I'm choosing what that is. So yeah, don't
gotcha.
bother, I'm okay.
Yeah, gotcha. And since you're trying to eat up to hunger, do you have any idea how many calories you are having, or you're just kind of guessing?
Um, what's interesting is I'm finding that I don't need to pay attention to that,
Yeah,
and and fat is not a problem.
yeah,
So I can have a nice juicy steak
yeah.
or the chocolate delight or whatever. I do not have to watch fat at all.
That's great. That's awesome.
So I would say it's still around 1200 because I also am doing intermittent fasting.
Oh, that's right. I wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, 2 or 3 days a week. This was actually recommended by my naturopath as well
Yeah,
as a way to maintain and to keep your metabolism sort of on its toes.
yeah.
So,
So how are you doing your intermittent fasting as far as how many hours are you fasting and when are you eating and
I go 3 days a week, 2 or 3 days a week. I go from dinner, which is usually done by 7,
okay.
until noon the next day.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So two to three
So
days a week, you don't eat from 7 p.m. till about noon the next day.
exactly.
And then are those days spread out? The two to
Yes,
three
yeah.
days?
I do it like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday or something
Right.
like that.
Gotcha.
Um,
That seems like a really balanced way to do it. It's not like, because, there's so many different ways you can fast. So it could be way more extreme or not. So that sounds like actually a really balanced way to do it. So,
and it not just cuts down on the calories, but it just feels good because then I actually like get hungry.
yes,
And like so you're reminded of what that
like
feels
real
like.
hunger.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. Do you find that when you're finishing a fast, like, I guess for you, let's see, 7 to 7 would be 12 hours, and then to noon would be another, what, 5?
Yeah.
So about 17-hour fast.
Yeah.
That's actually about what I do. I do between 17 and 22 hours when I do fast. I don't have a schedule for it, so it's very sporadic. But um, when you get to the end of your fast, do you feel like you're craving like real food, not like candy or junk food?
Oh, yeah. And then I just eat what I normally eat. I mean, I eat
Right.
a salad almost every day for lunch.
Yeah.
Eat salad or leftovers because I bring my lunch to work.
Gotcha.
But it tastes good. And during that morning time, I'll have my coffee or my tea or my water and those things. I just don't eat food.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, I love that. I find that for me when I fast it really I feel like it if for some reason my cravings have gotten a little off, like maybe I have kind of had some chips or like too much more of stuff lately and I'm feeling more snacky like that, when I fast, I feel like it resets my cravings. And by
Yeah.
the end of it, I'm like, I want a steak and broccoli. Like, like I want real food. Yeah, that's what it does for me. And I feel like that's a really valuable aspect of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's great. So have you been doing that for the last couple months then?
Yep. Yep. And it's pretty easy, starting that habit after doing P2 because you're sort of already not eating breakfast.
Right. Yeah.
And then on the days that I do eat breakfast, it's a protein shake
Gotcha. Gotcha.
or eggs.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Approaching, gotcha. Yeah, I've actually even myself, I guess I do eat fairly late at night, so it's not really a long fast on a daily basis because I don't eat breakfast actually ever. So I eat my first meal of the day is between 12 and 1 every day. So I guess I
Hmm.
have kind of like a mini fast thing going on, but since I eat till like 11 at night, sometimes it's not that long. But then when I do fast on occasion, it would be um, usually for me dinner to dinner the next day. But for me, that ends up being more like 20 hours or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Mhm.
So let's see, so these days when you have a treat, what are some of the things that you like to have that are like satisfying treats for you?
So let's see, what do I have? An apple.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you said
uh,
apple and peanut butter. Oh, wait, except, is that a nut for you or no?
um, I have actually, I have done it, I think once this
Gotcha.
since, so I'm, like I said, I'm still experimenting with
Sure,
that.
yeah.
Seeds like pumpkin seeds or
Ooh,
sunflower seeds.
nice.
Um, I still do the chocolate delight. I always have some of that in the fridge.
Gotcha.
Um, there is some dehydrated fruit that I get from a company called Thrive, and that I always have in the house. And so it's not dried fruit with the sugar in it; it's dehydrated.
Okay.
And so that is a nice treat for me. Iced coffee actually has turned into a treat for me, and I
Nice.
put
Yeah, sounds
with some
good.
almond milk in it and some stevia.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds really good. I like that. So, what do you feel like has been the most important keys to your success? Like, you felt like this round, like what happened? Well, we'll talk more about that in a minute, but just what's been the big change for you this time that's really helping you make it stick?
Um, I read Weight Loss Apocalypse because you suggested it,
Good. We'll have
and
a link to that, you guys, in the show notes. It's an excellent book. Yeah.
it is an excellent book. It's one of the, I think you have to read it 2 or 3 times to really get the whole science part of it.
Yes, it's deep.
Yeah, but but there's a lot of concepts in there, like the eating to hunger piece of it.
Yeah.
So I noticed one day, one dinner last week. I can't remember what we had for dinner, but I had literally had, like, it was the day I had the sweet potato fries, and I had like 2 fries and 3 bites of pork chop left on my plate, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done, and I pushed my plate back, and I just it's just whatever that trigger is,
Yeah.
that has never been there for me is now finally there.
You're like, oh, that's interesting. So, do you think you ever maybe felt those triggers before and just didn't listen, or did you actually feel like you didn't even have that, like that trigger wasn't even working before, and now it is?
Well, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and it was the Clean Your Plate Club. And
Right.
so that's kind of how I grew up was, if you want dessert, you got to finish what's on your plate. And so um, that was sort of how I grew up. And not eating till you're full, but eating till you're not hungry.
Yeah.
It's sort of a different concept for me. So
Yeah.
been practicing that.
That's good. Yeah, and it sounds like it's been working for you too, because you've been pretty stable. I liked what you said here, that hCG can be a permanent solution, not just a tool to lose the same 10 pounds over and over again, as it was for me.
Hmm.
I liked that. It's a way to see results fast, but more importantly, to detox your body and get back to a baseline from which you can experiment and see what your body likes and doesn't like. It's an opportunity to focus on you. So yeah, I liked those thoughts, because sometimes hCG can become a crutch, you
Yeah.
know, because we're not maybe looking at it with the right perspective, and I like how you said it's an opportunity to focus on you,
Hmm.
I think, like when I did my rounds anyway, I think the only way I could even get through them was to focus more on myself, or I would have just given up. Because I was just so addicted to sugar at the time. It was like a heavy duty process for me. And so
Hmm.
I did have to allocate more time, like the actual time and emotional energy into kind of what I was doing for a period of time while on the round. That meant there was less available to my family, but that was like temporary, and it was worth it. But I felt guilty at moments, like it was hard to do that.
Well, I was just going to say it's not always easy. I mean, there are days, I mean, even now where you have where I call it white knuckling it, where you have to just use your grit or determination
Yeah.
or stubbornness to get through a bad moment,
Yep.
and and you just have to just do it.
You do, yeah. And I think it's like you get better at trusting what you know is right for yourself more than what you want to do in the moment as time goes on and as you keep doing that, you
Yeah.
know? I know, like just the other day I had a moment like that. Like I mean, let's see, it's June right now, 2017. November will be my 5-year anniversary of maintaining, like with no further dieting with hCG. But so it's been a long time, But just the other day, I wasn't really feeling really good, and I saw all these like this gluten-free aisle, right, full of cookies and
Mhm.
stuff. And I do not eat that stuff because I just can't control myself still. And I saw it all, and it was like, man, it just feels like this urge. Like it would just be so fun to just eat a bunch of that right now. Like, man, it'd be fun to get away with that just now and then. But I already know for me what that leads down, like what road that leads me down. Like I can't just do that once and then move on and then not have any further cravings.
Right.
So yeah, it's like that thing where you're like, I have to go against what I really feel urged to do at the moment and just trust what I know about myself.
Yeah, and the thing that also that crosses my mind is what am I going to feel like, 2 hours from now?
Exactly.
And because I had gotten to the point before this last round of hCG where I was literally rolling myself out of bed because I was so achy all the
Oh,
time, and I was having horrible hot flashes,
wow.
and I don't want to go back there ever.
Yeah, it's totally not worth it. It's such a drastic difference for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I think until you've experienced that drastic difference, it doesn't feel worth it and it feels really hard. But once you get over that mountain and you have the resolving of some major symptom, one if
Hmm.
not many, then it's like, oh, okay, this is like no question now of what I'm gonna do. Like.
And it's not, for me, it's not about size, it's about health.
Yeah, yeah,
So, although it's kind of cool that I'm, back down to my high school weight or whatever, that
yeah.
isn't the reason why I did it.
Right. Well, because that gets old too. Like I tell people that too. It's like, yeah, initially when you get your smaller pants at the store or whatever, you're all excited and you take a picture and put it on Instagram or something maybe, but it gets old. Like it's not, you don't, the newness wears off. You don't wake up every morning 5 years later and like, oh, I'm a size 2 or a 4. Like it's like, who cares? Yeah,
Woohoo!
yeah, it really doesn't matter. So you do have to have those bigger reasons where your quality of life and what you're able to do is greatly impacted and so much better. That's what makes living healthier worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Well, before we move on to kind of more your P3 experience, which we've kind of talked a little bit about maintenance, but is there any other closing thoughts with like just phase 2 and the weight loss process that you want to share, or for anyone who's struggling, or maybe who's done some rounds and failed? Any last little tips there?
Just to not give up, I mean, there's always different ways of looking at a situation. You can look at it like you've failed, you've messed up, like or this hCG path has led me down to a path, professionally, that I have been wanting to do forever. And I have signed up to take a health coaching course
Cool.
because of this round of hCG. And so I look back at the rounds where I wasn't as successful, or other jobs that I've had, or other things that have happened to me, overcoming my own health issues. Those, were all stepping stones to getting to where I am now and who I am now. And the perseverance and the resiliency and the grit that I have because of all of those. I was also a single mom, and
Wow.
other things that have happened in my life. have all gotten to me to where I am now. So even if you're not successful, there are still things to learn.
Right.
And what is your definition of success? It's growing and it's learning.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's just so true because when you view that, they call it like the growth mindset, right? Have you heard of that? The growth
Yeah.
mindset versus the fixed mindset. Yeah, I find that fascinating. When you guys, because I have actually done this. If you have a fixed mindset, that means that you kind of think that how things are is just how things are, and so if you fail, that's kind of it, and you'll never, but when you have a growth mindset, you view everything as an opportunity to learn and grow, and you know that things can get better, and that even if you're not good at something right now, that doesn't mean that's how it'll always be. And
Right.
it says those are the people who actually overcome obstacles. And that we can all work on having more of that type of mindset too, because they said some of us genetically, we might be more predisposed to a fixed mindset. And I think actually probably I was, and I've had to learn how to, work through that. And it is true when you learn to view that way, then you can take, supposed failures or struggles and actually kind of analyze them and figure out, okay, well, what could I do different, or why didn't this work? So then if that didn't work, I should try the opposite or something else. And you do find, like, when you do it that way, like, you find something that works, you know? So yeah,
Yeah,
that's exciting. I'm glad to hear about the health coach thing. That's going to be like really probably rewarding, to
I
pursue
think
that.
so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's just cover now the whole like more maintenance aspect. So you guys, as I said, she had signed up for my P3 to Life program at p3tolife.com, and there's various aspects to the program. So it's a structured eating plan that you can utilize, that has the meals and the recipes and all that. There's also a build your own meal plan kit where it's like gives you ideas on how to just do stuff very simply that aren't necessarily recipes. And then there's like the part that's not really about food, which is more just like the coaching aspect and just how to like look at things, stuff like that. There's even more. I can't even remember right now because there's so much in there. But so tell me, for you, what aspect of the program, of the P3 to Life program, was valuable to you and why? Like, what did you like?
So originally, I found you through just YouTube videos, and I don't know exactly how I did that, but I
Yeah.
watched a lot of your initial videos
Okay.
and a lot of your interviews and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I found the P3 to Life page, and I for me it was about community
Yeah.
more than even the specific recipes and things,
Sure. Yeah.
because to be honest with you, I don't think I've made one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're a cook too, so you kind of have
Yeah,
that part covered, and you
I
kind of
know.
know what you want to do. So yeah. So what part you found valuable?
I liked the introduction to some of the tools and the products like the Swerve
Cool.
sugar,
Yeah.
substitute and things like that, um, and eating out, the exercise piece of it. One thing that was interesting that I observed this round, is I'm a walker. I do a lot of walking.
Yeah.
Even in the winter, I get up and I do a half hour on the elliptical almost every day. And in P2, I did almost none because I couldn't.
Yeah.
It didn't feel good.
Gotcha.
And then through this P3, I find that, 3 days a week is all I can do still.
Gotcha.
And that's okay. You
Yeah.
know,
So what happens if you do more than the 3 days?
I get really tired and
Mm.
I actually gain weight,
Gotcha. So
you
you
know.
didn't kind of maybe notice that that may have been happening before, but now you were able to make that connection.
Yeah, because I mean it's just a teeny bit, but it's,
Yeah.
I retain a lot of water, so I need a day of recovery in between in order
Yes.
to just really pound the water and get my rest.
Cool. And then you feel better overall with that level of exercise.
Yeah. But I love the community part of your website where we get to, kind of converse with each other and share ideas and
Yeah.
things, and that's the part that the reason that I joined in the first place.
Gotcha, gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that about the exercise too, because I think that's actually a really highly misunderstood component of both weight loss and weight maintenance. you know,
Mhm.
because I'm similar to you, actually. I can't really work out more than 3 days a week. Sometimes I can get away with 4, but definitely no more than 4. Or I will feel very symptomatic with my chronic illnesses. I'll get really, really
Yeah.
tired. And
Yeah.
I have actually had weight gain in the past, actual fat gain, like not just water. So,
Oh.
because I CrossFit, so I'm not walking, so I'm doing something pretty intense. But there was a period of time when I was trying to CrossFit like 4 days a week, and I had started attending they call it a new box, where the workouts were longer and more intense than what I had been doing at my previous one. So it was
Mhm.
definitely more activity on those 4 days too. And I was really tired, and I didn't change my eating. I was working out harder now, and I gained a few pounds, and I went and had my body fat tested because I do that periodically to check where I'm at, because I've had a lot of muscle gain too. So for
Right.
me, that weighs something. So I do weigh more on the scale than I used to, but I just check, like, okay, it's muscle, we're good, you know. But it was fat. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, and so your cortisol levels, like depending on your health and how much physical activity you can handle, if it throws your cortisol levels off because it's too much for you, you can have fat gain from too much exercise, for your body, And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting. My son just got his personal training certification, so I'm waiting for him to come over and give me some like weight strength training. You know,
Yeah.
again, it goes back to that me being an ish person. I don't I do a little bit of a lot of things, and
Yeah.
so and again, it's about health. I want to be able to, climb a mountain and not die, and
Right. Yeah.
and I want to be strong and fit
Yeah.
and not get osteoporosis and
Right.
healthy heart and all of those kinds of things. So I do the elliptical or I walk and I do a lot of yoga and stretching and a little bit of light weights and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, you just gotta find, that balance. That's gonna be cool though, that your son's gonna show you some
Yeah,
weightlifting. Is he gonna show you like with a barbell weightlifting, or
yeah,
just
yeah,
awesome? Well, tell him
yeah.
I said hi. You know what? I
Well,
think I'm really kind of passionate about furthering the idea of the weightlifting, like a little bit heavier for women with like the barbell, because it studies do show that it does stop bone loss as you age for women. It's really a big deal, and it's a really big deal with metabolism too, because as we women age, our metabolisms do naturally slow down. I wouldn't say it's natural, but it slows down, and you lose muscle. Like with each decade,
mhm.
they say you lose certain pounds of muscle. So the only way to like counteract that would be to do something weight bearing, where you're telling your body you need muscle. Like, hey, I need this muscle here, and then it's going to respond and build something there, and that makes your metabolism higher.
And
So
also, I lost that last 23 pounds and now I've got this thing going on. So
a
I've
little bit. I think even I have a little bit of that still. But yeah, a little bit to get rid of some of it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. I'm glad you're going to try that out. That's
Now,
good.
on the P3 to Life, is that the one where you interviewed somebody about eating out?
Yes, I did, and that is on the P3 to Life site. So yeah, you guys if you become a member, there is a segment about eating out, vacationing. I interviewed she's a paleo blogger, and I just kind of interviewed her on tips and tricks on doing that. Yeah, what did you want to say about that?
I just found that to be particularly interesting and inspirational, just
Good.
has some really good ideas and
Good.
um, because that can trip up anybody.
Yes.
Eating out can trip up anybody.
Yeah. I think that's typically kind of where things get derailed, because we're going along, do, we have our little day thing. Yeah, and then vacation, or a big, social thing or whatever, and then you get thrown off, and then you kind of just don't get back on, you know. And then before you know it, you're having to do another round of hCG. So
Yeah.
that's good. Actually, yeah, you mentioned that one of the comments on that post was you talked about that you went to Portland because your son was graduating from college.
Yeah.
And so, you want to tell us what you did? Because you said you were a little nervous because you had to eat out for the whole weekend. You were 4 weeks into P3, which is nice. So you were probably already a little more stable. But so,
Yeah.
what did you do? You want to share that?
Yeah. Well, I still am the kind of person, I do weigh myself every day. I haven't gotten out of that habit yet.
Yeah.
And so I had no scale, so I had no way of measuring.
Mhm.
So, my kids and my boyfriend were picking on me because I packed food
Good.
and I
Yeah.
food with me.
Nice.
So, I brought apples and easily travelable stuff. Hard-boiled eggs. I might have a little beef jerky.
Yeah.
Vitamin water. Unsweetened iced tea, whatever. So I packed this cooler and everything. So I had at least something, and
Right.
I always have a protein bar in my purse. It's just in case, and
Yeah.
it could, because you never know where you're going to end up and what you're going to eat. And then when we went out to dinner, I'm already used to asking for the gluten-free menu, just letting people know, and most restaurants now are pretty good with that. Not all of them.
Right.
I think the cooks know, but the the wait staff isn't always educated about that. So
Right.
sometimes I feel like I need to educate them,
Right.
or they'll go back and they'll say, hey, is this gluten free? Back to the chef, and they'll
Right.
come back. And I just ate, some kind of protein. I had my seafood because I was in Portland, Maine. I had to have my seafood,
Yeah.
and salad, and I just sort of stuck to those. And so, well, do you want rice or baked potatoes? Neither. I'm
Right.
good.
Yeah, that's the best thing. Just don't get it. Don't have to bring it and like save it for some other time or like or think you won't eat it. Just say
Yeah,
don't bring it.
yeah,
Very good.
exactly.
And then what was the results from that, from your weekend, just approaching it
I
that way?
I did not gain anything, nothing.
Nice. That must have felt really good.
It did. It
Did you
did.
feel like that? Like since you didn't have your scale, where you're like, I think I'm about the same, or did you just have no idea, or before you got to weigh?
Well, I think it's hard because when you spend a lot of time in the car, at least for me, I feel like I retain fluids anyway
Oh,
when I'm
totally. Yeah.
sitting. You know what I mean? You
Mhm.
kind of feel like a slug because you're out of your routine, and then you sit
Yes. Yeah.
for 4 hours while you're driving there,
Right.
so it was really hard to feel. And then you're not sleeping in your own bed, and then you're not, so that when you get home, you feel kind of yucky anyway after you
Mhm.
travel.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happens to other people, but
It
it
happens
happens.
to me. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, it's just like this overall like yucky feeling, and so yeah, you feel like that means you're gonna weigh more. You know?
Yeah, and it wasn't. Then it turned out to not be the case. And I mean, we stopped for breakfast, and I still had eggs and bacon. I just didn't have the toast, and it
Right.
was fine.
That's so good. So it is possible, you guys.
It is possible, and I think it's a different formula for everybody, don't you?
Yes, no, definitely. Yeah, people have been. That's why you can't really kind of take, one recommendation and just across the board apply it to everybody because even honestly in the same person, so what might work for you right now, you may have to adjust in 5 years, or 2 years, or I've had to adjust things multiple times, honestly, actually. So it's just different states of hormones, I guess, and different things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like overall right now though you are still mostly dairy and nut free. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I
Yep.
found it easiest to maintain when I was nut and dairy free. Like it felt pretty easy. Now I
It,
have
it
them sometimes and I do maintain, but it's just it felt way easier or something. I don't know.
it's funny because my last day of P2, I was like 123.6 or
Yeah.
whatever, and I have maintained between 121 and 123. So actually below my lowest.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
That is so
I don't know.
fantastic.
I just figured out the puzzle for me finally.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, and actually, even though you didn't follow the meal plan in the P3 to Life program, it's actually the results that a lot of them are getting as well. I get a lot of emails now, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like they're like, I can't believe I can eat all this yummy food and not gain weight, like that was in the plan because it is a low carb meal, but there's lots of variety in it, And
Hmm.
they're like, yeah, they're either at their LAW or low. In some cases, some of them have actually lost weight because they're eating to hunger.
Yes.
And the vegetables are very filling. So, and they're just like, I just can't believe it, you know? So it's such an empowering feeling when you've had like a bunch of times where you couldn't, like you felt like you were trying so hard and yet you were struggling with gaining after, you know, in P3. So, and having that, it feels like it's really empowering, you know?
I'm learning, I am having to learn how to cook a little bit differently again.
Gotcha.
So I definitely want to try some of your recipes because I'm finding that like miracle noodles, for instance. I had
Yes.
tried them years ago,
Yeah.
didn't like.
Yeah.
I bought some more again, and I've tried them a couple different ways. And so I'm still trying to like experiment to find what I like and what's good. Like
Sure.
I don't mind having chili with no beans in it. That's no big deal to me, and
Right.
I will do that and that.
Totally.
Um, but trying to different combinations of food, it's
Right.
like thinking about, comfort food that I had growing up, like shepherd's pie.
That's my
I mean,
husband's favorite. That's like his favorite dinner. Yeah.
I know, and it is great comfort food,
Yeah.
but there's nothing really in that I would eat now. So,
Yeah. No, you know what? No joke. Like I think the last time you made it, because I can eat carbs actually. I can even, I'm in phase 4. Since I CrossFit, I can eat French fries. Like I can do that. But when I have his shepherd's pie, I don't know what it is. It's like between the peas, the carrots, and the potato. I don't know. Like I literally go into I get really sleepy, like like a blood sugar crash or something, or high blood sugar. I don't know, because I can eat these other things, but I don't know. Yeah, I just don't feel good after I eat it.
well, I think it's figuring out the combinations of
Yeah,
foods,
yeah.
so.
I kind of wanted to see if I could make like a shepherd's pie version with like mashed, cauliflower, and see if it was like,
Oh,
you know,
that's a good idea.
close. Like I was thinking of doing that for a P3 recipe. I haven't, probably wouldn't taste quite as good, but maybe it'd be close.
I bought an air fryer, so I'm
You,
also experiencing with an air fryer.
so have you actually used it yet?
Yep.
What do you
You know what
think?
I put broccoli in it
Okay,
and like made little broccoli crowns and just
okay.
tossed it in a little olive oil and salt and put it in there. And it's sort of like kale chips.
Cool. Because I hear
Yeah,
it's really fast. I
it's
just actually researched this because someone asked me about an air fryer just the other day, so I had to look it up. And so it cooks food really fast, and it's like it kind of fries it, but it's way less oil because it's air, but
yeah,
it tastes kind of fried, supposedly. So you
yeah,
liked it?
yeah, very much so. As a matter of fact, tonight I'm going to make some cauliflower that way and
Oh,
toss it in some like Parmesan cheese and a little gluten-free panko. And
that sounds good.
so I'm like relearning how to cook some different things that,
Yeah.
in a different way.
Yes.
So
Because that's what keeps it satisfying so that you can just eat that way long term, right? Like you said,
exactly.
so you're not just stuck eating chicken breasts and then you finally like, okay, I'm done with chicken breasts, so I guess we'll go have a burger and fries. Like, yeah, now you have other things that are good.
Exactly. Exactly.
Cool. And I hear the air fryer is really quick too. Like, how long did you do the broccoli for?
Oh, I can't remember. It was like 10 minutes.
Cool. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really neat. We'll try to yeah, if you guys want to research that air fryer, I just recently heard about that too, and some people really like it. So it's nice to know you can try doing some like healthier vegetables with it. Um,
Yes.
you know, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to talk about. I guess like so. I guess in phase 3, tell us how you did phase 3 because that went well for you. You've been stable. How did you add in food and such?
I, um, in the past, as I was getting off of P2 up until this round, I think that I just went back to eating normal too quick.
Gotcha.
And so, like, even getting the 72 hours after your last injection was, hard because
Yeah.
by the time I got done the round, whether it was, 35 or 40 days or whatever, I was like, I need some real food,
Yeah, you're like, I'm so done with this.
Yeah, I just got sick of it. And so I was very methodical about it, and I hung out that for those 72 hours. And then I literally did not reintroduce more than two things per day.
Cool.
And just little bits of things. I sort of stuck to some of the P2 recipes and then would just add something into it, or
Yeah.
um, and I did not do any dairy or any nuts for another month after my last
Yeah.
shot, um, because I wanted to be really careful. So I just
Right.
stuck to fruits and vegetables. And I know that, for some people, fruit is a trigger,
Right.
the sweet, the sugar in and
Right.
it's not for me. And
Right.
so I was able to do some more fruits and some different combinations, and
Good.
putting salad dressing back on my salad,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
those sorts of things. And there are
That's good.
things that I still haven't had, and it's really okay. And we'll
Cool.
see what happens, like I'm trying to think of something that I haven't had. Beans
Yeah.
or
I don't think I digest those too well. I don't really eat beans. On the rare
no,
occasion I do, it kind of feels not great.
don't eat beans. I haven't had corn yet, and it's almost corn on the cob season, but I haven't tried that yet.
Oh, is it almost corn on the cob where you are? We are like literally just about to plant our corn seeds. It's gonna be a little while before. It's
Yeah.
like just starting to warm up where I'm at. That's funny.
So, and then I just, like I said, I won't count the calories. I'm
Yeah,
just, it was just the amount of food. And I started with the intermittent fasting right at the beginning.
gotcha.
So, and I just sort of have kept that. Protein shakes were my staple beforehand. And I use plant-based Sun Warrior protein powder, and I put greens in. Do you like
Nice.
the Sun Warrior?
I actually used to use that one. Yeah, I used to love it. Do you use the sprouted brown rice one? Or
Uh, I don't know.
it was
No,
the
I
Sun
don't.
Warrior brand, but what was cool about it was
Yeah,
that it was sprouted and fermented brown rice protein. So it wasn't just like it was sprouted and fermented. So anyway,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and I find that to be good. I can't do the whey
I
protein.
can't either. Well, that's probably why you can't do the soft cheese too. It's for me, it's the whey that's the problem. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So, and so that was good to bring that back in,
Nice.
with the almond milk and greens. I put the powdered greens in
Cool.
just for another vegetable.
More
Got to
health.
throw it in.
Yeah. Cool. We'll put a link to that by the way, you guys, for the Sun Warrior protein powder because it's a vegan one. You know, what I mean, it's great for pretty much anyone, and it's really high quality. So cool.
It is, and it's a little bit more expensive, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah, honestly, these days any good quality protein powder supplement's fairly pricey, so you're gonna have to spend it either way.
I get the giant bags of berries at Costco, and I just dump some of the berries.
Nice. That's good. Cool.
So I mean, that's kind of how I ease back into things, and really, really, really paying attention to the hunger piece.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like that's really been kind of the core piece really for you
Yeah.
with maintaining. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And not starting something that I know that I can't stop.
Yes, me too. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Know yourself, know your weaknesses.
Well, I mean, there could be a bowl of M&Ms sitting on the counter, and if I don't touch one, then I'm fine, and I don't won't eat it. But if
Yeah.
I eat one, I'll eat a half a bag.
Yep, I know. Totally. Yeah, because like for instance, we have ice cream in our freezer always because my husband eats it. But
Yep.
that's a trigger for me. So I just never eat it at all. And I'm never tempted by it or if he's eating it, I'm never but yeah, if I were to have a spoonful, then it would be another story. Then I'd be like, I think I'd like to go back to the freezer for another spoonful. It would be hard.
So on those days that I really, really need something, I have two go-tos, and one is a P2 recipe. Actually, I cut up an apple and I put some cinnamon on it and a little stevia, and I nuke it so it's like an apple pie.
Oh, that sounds so good. How long do you microwave it for?
Like 1 minute, I
Ooh.
think. Yeah, and so it's like an apple pie without the crust.
Oh, that sounds really good.
And so that is one of is definitely a go-to thing for me. I've also been experimenting with the mug cups. Have you done anything with
The
those?
mug muffins or?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because
exactly.
there's some of those in the P3 to
Oh
Life
yeah.
plan. Yeah, there's some
And
recipes for those. Yeah.
the almond flour and the coconut flour and things like that.
Yep.
So I've there are some xylitol chocolate chips that I found, and
Cool.
so if I need to have a little extra, that's what I would go for.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, finding those alternatives, So,
Yeah.
cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, it's been great. It's
Yeah,
great to chat with you and
you
share
too.
my story, and hopefully, people will get little nuggets out of it.
Yes, no, I totally think so. We all resonate with each other in one way or another from different aspects of each other's stories. And I think, the biggest thing is like seeing that you have struggled after previous rounds and then like you've really made a mindset shift. Sorry, can't talk. Yeah, this time and just kind of getting to hear from you how that has changed and what you're doing and that it is doable, even if
Hmm.
you struggled before. So
Yep,
cool. Well, I hope you get to keep hiking your mountain every year.
I will as
That,
long as I can.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and so you guys, you'll see in the show notes we'll have everything. Well, I'll even try to make sure her tip there about the P2 apple pie thing. That's a great idea. So we'll try to have all that type of stuff in the show notes for her interview. And then if you want to check out the P3 to Life program itself, again, that's at p3tolife.com. And you can get all the details there. And yeah, but just thank you so much for your time today.
Great. It was great to meet you.
You
And
too.
thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing your smile and all your ideas.
Oh, thank you. I enjoy it. It's really satisfying, to interact with so many people and, realize actually that a lot of our stories and fears and struggles are really similar. So
Hmm.
before you share those things online, you kind of feel like you're not sure if maybe you're one of the only people that deals with that or, you know what I mean? Like I've thought that and so it feels scary actually sometimes to share what you're really thinking or what you've really done or. But then when you do and other people are like, I have that same problem, and a bunch of people say that, you're like, oh, wow, I'm not alone, first of all, so I'm not totally nuts. And you realize when you find something that works, like what you find what you work, then when you share it, you realize like, hey, someone else may be able to take this tip and now make a change for themselves, which, that's so rewarding.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
All
Great to meet
right.
you.
Me too.